Okay, welcome to this video on how to find x and y intercepts. This video will first review your calculator skills, then it's going to show you how to find them by hand, and in some special cases you'll have to use the zero product property or the quadratic formula to find them. So let's first of all look and see what you know so far. You should already know how to use your calculator. So let's review how you found x-intercepts. You first of all took your equation, typed it under the y1 equals entry, then you wrote a second equation that said y2 equals 0, and then you press the key combination of second trace option 5, enter, enter, enter. And in some cases you had parabolas that had multiple x-intercepts, so you had to then do the same process again by pressing second trace option 5, moving the cursor over by the other one, and then pressing enter, enter, enter. Then you also learned how to find y-intercepts simply by typing your equation in and pressing trace and 0 as your key combination, and that showed you the y-intercept. So in this example here, you had 0, negative 3. But the focus of this video is not to show you how to use your calculator, but to show you how to find these x and y intercepts by hand. So let's look at what x-intercepts look like again. If you want to find an x-intercept, you have to put 0 in for y to find the x-intercept. So whatever the equation has in it, you're going to put 0 in for y and solve for x. That'll tell you the x value of the x-intercept. Okay? If you want to find the y-intercept, you put 0 in for x and solve for y, and you'll have the y-intercept. So let's try this strategy out on a linear equation. So if I have y equals 2x plus 4 and I want to find the x-intercept, I'll put 0 in for y and solve for x. So then when I subtract 4 to both sides and then divide by 2 to both sides, I'll have x equals negative 2. So then my x-intercept of the equation will be at negative 2, 0. If you want to find the y-intercept of this linear equation, you'll simply put in 0 for x and get y equals 4. But I'm hoping that you'll recognize when this equation is in slope-intercept form, this last number will always represent the y-intercept. So you didn't really have to do that, but if you did it algebraically, you still got 0, 4. But now in some cases it gets a little more challenging when you have multiple x-intercepts with a quadratic. And we have a couple strategies we're going to use to find the x-intercepts. First of all by factoring, and then we'll show you how to do that using the quadratic formula. But if you want to factor, you should already have the skills in knowing how to factor a quadratic expression that starts out looking like this. We're hoping that you can get it down to 2 pairs of parentheses that then equals 0 because you put 0 in for y to find the x-intercepts. And then to solve from here, we have to use what's called the zero product property. So let's call time out here and review what the zero product property means. When I say I have a times b equals 0, what do you know about a or b? Well, you know that a or b, one of them has to be equal to 0. So let's generalize it even more. Let's say we have 2 pairs of parentheses that equal 0. What do you know about one of those parentheses? Same thing, you have to realize that one of those parentheses has to equal 0. So after you factor this expression of the quadratic equation, you have to then realize that one of these parentheses has to equal 0. So what you have to do then is make up 2 baby problems. Okay? One baby problem is going to be x plus 3 equals 0 from the first parenthesis, and the other baby problem will be x minus 1 equals 0 for the other one. And when you solve those two equations separately, you'll have x equals negative 3 and x equals positive 1. Those two solutions then become your x-intercepts for the quadratic equation. Now, since you remember again when you factor to use baby problems to solve and find the intercepts, that's how you're going to do it that way. Another option you can always use is the quadratic formula, because sometimes the quadratic will not be something you can factor. So you will have to be forced to use the quadratic formula. So you'll want to first of all review what is the quadratic formula. Well, first of all, you have to use the letters or the variables or the constants a, b, and c of the quadratic formula. In this example here, you're going to have to use 1, 2, and negative 3 as your a, b, and c values. The quadratic formula has a song with it. You can play that after this video here. It's below on our Moodle page. But for now, you're going to take out the a, b, and c and plug them into the quadratic formula. So if a is 1, b is 2, and c is negative 3, you're then going to plug those into the quadratic formula by saying that a is 1. That's where you see the two a's here and here. But realize when you type these numbers into your calculator that you're using parentheses around each of the values, okay, that you're substituting. So when I do that, I'm going to type this in my calculator first, just the part that's in the radical. Now if you type that in your calculator, you'll hit enter, you'll get 16 for the answer. And then when you square root 16, you get 4. And then you have to solve this problem two separate times. Once with a minus and then once with a plus. So if I say negative 2 minus 4 divided by 2, I will get negative 3. And And then if I say I have negative 2 plus 4, which is 2, divided by 2, I'll get 1. So my two solutions for x will come out to be negative 3 and positive 1, using the quadratic formula. Then, those are my solutions, then become my x-intercepts. So my two x-intercepts will be then at negative 3, 0 and 1, 0. Those are the inputs that give me 0 for my output for the x-intercepts. So now I've got two strategies to find those two kinds of intercepts from this quadratic equation. But realize also there's a way to find the y-intercept simply by putting in 0 for the x values. You'll also recognize, like the slope-intercept form, this last number, when it's in standard form of this ax squared plus bx plus c, this c value will always be your y-intercept. So when you put 0 in for x, these will always cancel out, and you'll get y equals negative 3, and therefore your y-intercept will be at 0, negative 3. So now let's review real quick again. You have two options to find x-intercepts with quadratics. Use factoring as one option with two baby problems, or use the quadratic formula, substituting the letters in with parentheses around them into your calculator to find the x values. And hopefully this video has been a help to you. Good luck, and hopefully you can be successful too.